Laura Miti exposes Tasila Lungu, paid full salary while missing from parliament for months. YouTube News documentary script. Laura Miti exposes Tasila Lungu, paid full salary while missing from parliament for months. Part 1. Dramatic hook, opening 60 to 90 seconds. Good day, viewers. Welcome to another edition of InspirAfrica Official. I'm Nakash. You know, we've had quite a week here, watching the political theater unfold across our continent, but what I'm about to share with you today, this one hits different. This one strikes at the very heart of what it means to serve the people. Picture this, while ordinary Zambians wake up before dawn, scraping together transport money to get to jobs that pay them only when they show up. While market vendors stand in the scorching sun for 12-hour shifts just to feed their families. While teachers mark papers late into the night for salaries that barely stretch to month's end. There are those in the hallowed halls of Parliament, those elected to represent these very people, who have discovered a remarkable trick: how to get paid without showing up. Can you imagine drawing a full government salary, funded by taxpayers, while your seat in Parliament sits empty, month after month? What kind of democracy allows its representatives to ghost their constituents and still collect a paycheck? How does someone look their voters in the eye and justify being absent from the very chamber where laws that govern their lives are being debated and passed? And here's the question that should make every Zambian's blood boil. If this can happen to one MP, how many others are playing the same game? How deep does this culture of entitlement run? Who's been watching? Who's been protecting these arrangements? And most importantly, who's been keeping the people in the dark? Well, somebody decided enough was enough. Somebody decided it was time to pull back the curtain. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more factual political. Factual foundation, background and timeline. The revelation came to light through the piercing observations of Laura Miti, one of Zambia's most respected civil society activists and the executive director of the Alliance for Community Action. Known for her unflinching commitment to accountability, Miti has never been one to shy away from uncomfortable truths. And this time, she set her sights on a pattern that had been hiding in plain sight. The subject of her scrutiny? Tasila Lungu, daughter of former President Edgar Lungu, and the Member of Parliament for Chawama constituency since her election in 2021. It began with questions whispered in the corridors of Parliament, observations made by fellow MPs and parliamentary staff. Where was the young legislator? Committee meetings would convene, her name on the roster, her chair conspicuously empty. Parliamentary sessions would proceed, debates would rage, votes would be called, and the seat designated for the Chawama representative remained vacant. According to Miti's detailed accounting, this wasn't a matter of occasional absences or legitimate medical leave. This was a pattern spanning several consecutive months, a prolonged disappearance from the National Assembly while continuing to draw the full monthly salary and benefits afforded to a sitting member of Parliament. The timeline Miti presented was damning. Committee attendance records showed repeated no-shows. Plenary session logs revealed absence after absence. Constituent services in Chawama reportedly ground to a halt, with residents unable to reach their representative or access the advocacy they had voted for. Laura Miti didn't just raise these concerns privately. In true activist fashion, she took her findings public, calling out what she characterized as a fundamental betrayal of the public trust and a mockery of the democratic process. She questioned how parliamentary oversight mechanisms could fail so completely, allowing a legislator to essentially abandon their post while taxpayer funds continued flowing into their account. Direct evidence. Laura Miti didn't mince words when she brought these allegations into the public square. Speaking with the conviction that has defined her decades of advocacy, she laid out her case with surgical precision. "We have a member of Parliament," Miti stated, her voice carrying that mix of exasperation and determination that resonates with frustrated citizens everywhere, who has been absent from Parliament for months. Not days, not weeks, but months, and yet continues to receive her full salary. Every single kwacha. While hard-working Zambians are being told there's no money for teachers, no money for healthcare workers, no money for infrastructure, we're paying someone who isn't even showing up to work. She continued, building her argument with the methodical approach of someone who has done her homework. This isn't about political parties. This isn't about whose daughter she is. This is about basic accountability. This is about whether we believe that elected officials should actually do the job they were elected to do, or whether we've just accepted that some people are above the rules. When pressed about the specifics of the absences, Miti provided context that made the situation even more troubling. We're talking about committee sessions where critical legislation is being reviewed, legislation that affects people's daily lives. We're talking about plenary sessions where votes are being cast on the nation's budget. And the representative for Chawama? Missing. Absent. Nowhere to be found. Miti addressed the obvious question head-on. Now, some will say, maybe she was sick. Maybe there was a family emergency. And you know what? If that were the case, there are procedures. There are ways to request leave. There are ways to communicate with your constituents and your fellow parliamentarians. But from what we've seen, none of that happened. It was just silence. Absence. And a paycheck that kept coming. Her final point struck at the systemic nature of the problem. This should terrify every Zambian, because if Parliament itself cannot enforce basic attendance requirements for its own members, what does that say about our democracy? What does that say about accountability? And what does it say to every Zambian who goes to work every single day, who understands that if they don't show up, they don't get paid? Deeper analysis. The allegations have sparked intense debate across Zambia's political spectrum, raising questions that extend far beyond one individual MP. From the opposition benches, members of the United Party for National Development, UPND, have seized on Miti's revelations as evidence of lingering entitlement from the previous administration. Several UPND parliamentarians have called for a comprehensive audit of parliamentary attendance records, suggesting that Tasila Lungu's case may be symptomatic of a broader culture of impunity that took root during her father's presidency. Political analyst Sishawa noted the optics of the situation. When you're the daughter of a former president and you're elected to parliament, you're already under a microscope. The public is watching to see whether you'll leverage your privilege or prove yourself through service. Extended absences while drawing a salary, if substantiated, only reinforce the narrative that political dynasties view public office as entitlement rather than responsibility. However, supporters and members of the Patriotic Front have pushed back, arguing that Miti's accusations lack full context and may be politically motivated. Some have suggested that medical or personal issues may have necessitated the absences, though no official explanation has been publicly provided by Tasila Lungu or her office. This raises a critical procedural question. What are Parliament's actual mechanisms for tracking and enforcing attendance? Zambia's parliamentary rules do include provisions for addressing absenteeism, but enforcement has historically been lax. Members can accumulate absences without facing consequences beyond perhaps missing per diem payments for committee meetings they don't attend. But the base salary continues regardless. Legal experts have pointed out that while MPs have a constitutional duty to represent their constituents, the National Assembly's standing orders contain surprisingly few teeth. When it comes to penalizing chronic absenteeism, the Public Service Management Division, which processes parliamentary salaries, operates largely on information provided by Parliament itself, creating a system reliant on self-reporting and internal accountability. Constituency resident Grace Mukupa expressed the frustration many in Chawama feel. We voted for someone to speak for us, to bring our concerns to Parliament. When that person just disappears, who speaks for us? Who fights for our roads, our clinics, our schools? And they're telling us she was still being paid? That money could have helped so many people. The broader implications touch on Zambia's ongoing struggle with governance reform. If Parliament, the institution meant to hold the executive accountable, cannot maintain basic standards for its own membership, what hope exists for broader institutional integrity? So there you have it, viewers. A story that on the surface is about one member of Parliament and several months of absences, but at its core is about something much bigger, about accountability, about the social contract between representatives and the represented, about whether democracy can function when those in power play by different rules than everyone else. Laura Miti has thrown down the gauntlet. The question now is, will Parliament respond? Will there be consequences? Will systemic reforms ensure this can't happen again? Or will this be another scandal that burns bright for a news cycle and then fades into the familiar pattern of outrage without accountability? I want to hear from you in the comments. If you were a constituent in Chawama, what would you demand? Do you think this is an isolated case or indicative of broader problems? And what penalties, if any, should an MP face for extended unexplained absences? Thank you for watching this edition of InspirAfrica Official. We'll continue following this story as it develops and bring you updates as they emerge. These are the conversations that matter, the ones that force us to ask whether our institutions serve us or whether we simply serve them. I'll see you tomorrow with more stories from across our continent. Until then, stay informed, stay engaged, and never stop demanding better from those who claim to lead. This is Nakash, signing off.